All right, so let's go ahead and listen up to this. I'm going to react to Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, weighing in on the, obviously Joe Burrow's injury, Bengals rest of the season, how they're going to do, how good are they going to be, how confident is he in the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll be honest, I feel like I'm probably the only person on YouTube who covers Bengals content who has been saying, over and over again in these videos, I think we can still make the playoffs. I think we can still win the Super Bowl, I've said many times that conference might be out of hand depending on how the rest of the season goes. Division is still a possibility, but I think playoffs and Super Bowl is still a very, very real possibility. But I feel like I'm the only one at this point who's saying that, and I will home that in from the top of the hills a million bazillion times because, man, we are that team. This is a Super Bowl roster. I truly believe it. But let's see what Ochocinco has to say. I gotta block half the screen here because it's the NFL's product, and you already know the NFL. All right, so let me go ahead and get the audio all good here, and let's go ahead and listen to Ochocinco.
What are you seeing from this team?
I think what's happening right now is we've had issues with the O-line, but we've always had issues with the O-line, but we were able to mask it because Joe Burrow is a dual threat type of quarterback. He's able to extend plays, but hasn't been able to do it because he's hobbled by injury. But to me, I will still stand on this. I think at 80% Joe Burrow is still better than other NFL quarterbacks at 100%. But it's not showing right now. Again, we're in a hole at 1-3. You can still climb out of this hole, but it's going to have to happen starting next week.
Ocho, but you can't have him sit there and be 80 all season. If you continue to play him in 4 or 5 weeks, he's going to be 70, 60, 50, and maybe get a bigger injury than what he has.
We threw around Andrew Luck's name. Now, I know you said Joe's different.
Joe mentally built different.
But physically, he's built just the same. I mean, if you get hit for 5, 6 years to start your career, how does that mount physically, the toll? And I think here, it's crazy. They pay him all this money. He deserves it. But you get beat by a team you've owned, and they've been trying to get rid of their quarterback for 2 years. That tells you how bad things are in Cincinnati right now. And I think for Joe, it's all those subtle movements in the pocket that get the comparisons to Tom Brady. It's the little stuff that people take for granted. It's not an athletic move. Well, he needs his lower half to make those moves.
All right, so let's break this down. Let's start off right away by saying I do agree, and it's clear as day at this point, because they're putting in Joe Burrow over Jake Browning, even though Jake Browning is 100% and Joe is not, that, Joe Burrow at 80%, and I say, honestly, the first couple weeks of the season, week 1, I say Joe looked like he was sitting roughly around probably 50% Joe, right? Week 2, maybe like 60% Joe. Week 3, I say maybe around like 80% Joe. I'd say 80% Joe last week versus Titans. And according to Joe Burrow, he claims that, he has never felt better after last week's game versus the Titans. Even though he got hit 9 times and I think got sacked like 3 or 4 times, he claims he came out of that game and he feels healthier than ever. Like, he feels like himself again, which is absolutely amazing. But, again, to the point is, yes, him hobbled, him not 100%, is still better than, every other quarterback, in pretty much a lot of other quarterbacks in the league. I will say I do agree, though, with the context that if you keep a guy in, he can go from like 80%, 70%, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. But based on recent history of Joe, that's actually seeming to be the opposite, ironically enough. Usually it is like that. You play a guy, he's going to be banged up, he's slowly going to get worse and worse. But it's ironically enough that it's like the more you play Joe, he's almost like a robot at this point. He's almost like a robot, like a transformer, because it seems like the more you play him, the better he's getting. And it seems like he should be getting more injured, but he's not. Now, again, he's still not back to old Joe Burrow status, but that does, again, as they allude to here, Chad alluded to especially, it is a problem with the offensive line. And again, I've said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. It's a problem with the offensive line. It's a problem with the play calling. It's like not one thing you can sit there and point your finger at. And I think the Joe Burrow injury definitely is hindering us in some way. But I think we had good play calling. Our play calling was just so much better. And our line was at a top tier blocking. I think we would be absolutely fine even with Joe Burrow, still playing with injury. But I think it's okay. So here's what I'll say, right? If our offensive line was playing great and we could run the ball efficiently, we could run the ball 5-6 yards a carry and do it very, very a lot, right? Just keep doing it over and over again. I think we would not even be talking about Joe Burrow's injury that much. I think we wouldn't really be talking about the play call not a lot. And again, this is not on Joe Mixon because every time we have ran the ball, we have been pretty efficient except for after we run the ball consistently over and over and over again. I went back and watched some of those games we played, and it gets to a point where we do start running the ball a lot, and then they just shut it down 1 or 2 plays, right? And then we go, well, we tried. We tried to run the ball, but clearly it's not working. And we just leave the run game completely. And I understand the concept, and then we come back, like, later in the game in very bad situations where it's like 3rd and 1 or, really short yard situations, and they know you're going to run the ball, and then they shut down the run, and we go, well, it's over. Can't run the ball anymore. And I don't understand really why we do that. Like, again, at the end of the day, I understand if you're running the ball and it's not working, you're like, okay, let's go to the pass game. But you can't give up on the run game, right? That's the way any defense can beat you, is by making you one-dimensional, right? That's how any defense can beat you. When you already have offensive line struggles, you already have play calling struggles, your quarterback's hurt. Once you become one-dimensional, it's absolutely over, right? So I definitely will say, again, like I said, then that is a play calling problem, kinda. I will say it's kind of a scheme problem too. Like, again, giving up on the run so quickly in those games and just being like, well, we tried to run and we couldn't run, so we're not going to run the ball the rest of the game pretty much. And again, like I said, it's a whole bunch of problems. I don't think you can put one finger on it, but I do, again, I will say a million bazillion times on the channel, because I know this team. I know this is a winning team, guys. Yeah, we started off bad. We started off slow. And, it's unacceptable, right? It is. It's unacceptable. But this team is a winning team. This team will get back going. They'll figure it out. They'll get this, train going back on the tracks. We'll beat the Cardinals. I truly believe we will. And then we're going to have to take it game at a time. But, again, at the end of the day, it will take some time. It has taken way too much time to get going, but we're an unstoppable force. And I truly believe that even with all of our issues this season, I think we are truly an unstoppable force. So, guys, come on. Who they? Who they think they going to beat them Bengals? Nobody. Let's go, boys. We'll be fine. I'll be live Sunday at 4 o'clock for the Cardinals game. Let's continue the grind. Who Dey Nation. Out.